Hey, what's up, guys? AJ here. I'm with the founder of Life That Counts, John Williams. How are you doing?
I'm well, man. How are you?
Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right straight into it.
All right.
I'm really interested in knowing a little bit more of where it all started, not just why you created Life That Counts, but why you created something to bring, value to others and help them realize that, making $1 million doesn't define the success, but
Okay.
whatever they believe is life that counts is a life that counts.
So success for them, success for the individuals. Yeah, we have the opportunity to coach parents, fathers. We have the opportunity, of course, to work with students through our organization and through the programs. But for me, everything that comes before that, what drives that, if that's the question I'm hearing you ask, what drives everything that we do? You've probably heard me tell, I'm sure, I grew up in a situation with an alcoholic and an abusive uncle. And it's been said that hurt people hurt people. And I'm fairly certain he learned how to hurt people from his father. I've heard stories that would attest to that. And I'm fairly certain that part of his not having really ever achieved anything as a man, part of his probably never having fallen in love or got married, or had a career or a job or something where he had the opportunity to give back to the world. I have to imagine that for him, part of that was part of the pain, part of the hurt, part of his experience as he came to the world that was difficult for him. And it was probably part of why he continued to hurt people.
Yeah, he pushed his hurt onto others.
Exactly, man. He just kept going with it. And what I've kind of discovered over the years is that, you can change your narrative. You can change your stars. You can change your outcomes if you want to. And it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be one of the most difficult things you ever do in your life, but you can change your outcomes. What is it? An object stays in motion. An object in motion stays in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside or external force. You can be the external, your will and your drive can be the external force that acts upon your own life. And while it's true that hurt people, healed people can help heal people. And as I've gone through the different stages in my life, having, gone to high school and graduated and fallen in love with now my wife of almost 20 years and married, and I love my wife and we have 2 boys. I love my boys. I love the fact that I get to be my boys' father. I love the fact, I think my 18-year-old self would be the 18-year-old version of me would, I think so. I think he would look at me and he would say, attaboy, good job. You probably missed some areas along the way, but still, all in all, I think you're doing all right. And I think that's kind of the aim. And now for me, it's an opportunity to everything that we do, man, all of the video content, every time we step onto a platform, every time we write a new grant proposal, every time we partner with a new school or a new district, or we're working with some other folks now who are helping us get into some other areas and some other markets and things like that. All of those things are to spread the message of, hey, you don't have to end where you began. And if we can press that onto others, I think we're doing a really good job.
So you just gave me so much information. Even I learned off that, what you just said.
Well, thank you. And you spend a lot of time with me.
I'm intaking it, yeah.
All right. So how do you process that?
Well, everything you just gave me, I see it as more than just helping kids. I see it as giving value to everyone, because, even a video that is for mentors and mentees, people need the basics. Even, grown-ups, people older than you, your age, people my age, everyone needs the basics. Everyone needs to know that, hey, yeah, you may have messed up in the past, but your past does not define you. If you want to have a better future, you can't be invoked with emotions of the past. You have to move forward toward a life that counts, and everything that you create really does show that. And I can tell, even when I come into work, I can tell just know that you want to be here, want to help others. It's not just your face on the screen, it's what you've been through to help people that are going through or have went through or will have go through. They will go through something. You're there to help. I've noticed that's the value you bring.
Well, it's a culture that, I mean, it's definitely the culture we want to create here with our team. And I hope that that culture permeates in every school with every student that we serve. I hope that we create an atmosphere that fosters and facilitates that growth and that type of environment in our office. We have high expectations. We exercise no elephant in the room policy. You know, we're open, we talk to one another. Everyone at the table has an equal voice. At least I hope so, right?
It's
what
like
I
a
want
constant.
Yeah, there's two things that I want to comment on that you mentioned, and one is, yes, we serve students. I believe it was Frederick Douglass who said that it's better to build boys. Now, I may be wrong in the verbiage here, but he said something to the effect of it's better to build boys than to mend men. So yeah, we want to serve kids. We want to instill and empower students with that understanding that, you know what, the choices that they make today, they are the ones making those choices, and they are the ones who have the opportunity to determine their outcomes. Yes, there are environmental factors concerned. Yes, there are home life situations concerned, or that's at play and at work. But simultaneously, it's still that individual student, whether he or she decides to, show up and do their homework, or study for the test, or prepare for the ACT, or do some sort of work-study program, or work after school. Get a part-time job, or whatever it is for them. I want every student that we touch, that we impact, I want them to know that they are the ones, not their circumstances, not their current situations, but they are the ones that get to define the future of their lives.
Yeah.
They're the ones that get to do that. Now, simultaneously, we do work with parents, and I do the dad's mastermind calls, and we're opening up masterminds even for others and things like that. Because you know what? If you're still breathing, there's hope. And if you're still breathing, you can be 40 years old and your current situation is not going to define where you're at 50. As long as you have gas in the tank, as long as you're breathing right now, you have an opportunity to push it forward in whatever direction you want to push it forward.
Yeah, as long as you have gas, you can go forward.
That's right.
So you're saying the students, their current choices of what they do are gonna progress for the future. So you're trying to give them, the correct, trying to help them make better decisions, because obviously in high school you're tempted with certain things, you're given misinformation,
Sure.
You follow the crowd. So you're trying to, you are going into schools, not just high school, but middle school, and helping them make the right decisions so that it's easier for when they do have those people they don't consider mentors, but the people that they do follow, because everyone's listening to someone. So you're saying that that's the big picture.
So I want to address that, AJ, and again, we have this policy of no elephants in the room, and some of our funding has been through SRAE. And what is SRAE? It's Sexual Risk Avoidance Education. Well, we're in the Buckle. Our main office is located in north central Alabama. We're in the Buckle of the Bible Belt. And one of the things that we've caught a little bit of heat for is, why are we bringing sexual risk avoidance education into schools? After all, we're the Bible Belt. Do we need these things?
We definitely do, though. It is important.
Well, here's why we look at that area of adolescent development. And human sexuality is a process of human development. It does show prevalence in our adolescence. After you hit puberty, you begin to grow, you begin to come into your own and things like that. What we have learned is that the gateway for healthy and unhealthy choices begins at how a person views their body and how a person views their self. I like to give this example. If I had a brand new Maserati I would take care of the Maserati. I would put the Maserati in a garage. I would have it hand washed, this kind of thing, right? I would take care of it. I would protect it. Well, what about your body? 13, 14, 15-year-old young man, young woman. What about your body? You've been given this brand new body. You've been given this body that you can take care of and that you can protect, or if you've been taught to love yourself first so that you can love others. Well, what if you've not been taught to love yourself first? What if you've been taught that you're worthless? What if you've been taken advantage of in the past in some harmful way? What if others have inflicted choices on you that you did not desire and you were exploited in some sort of way? Then what that person has been taught, that they've been taught that their body has no meaning, has no worth, has no value. So we address these subjects, we approach these subjects because we know that these areas and these subjects, these are where it begins for students. A pregnancy is an outcome which is going to have a very big impact on the rest of your life. We know that, right? We know that it's monumental. It's going to be pivotal. So if we can help students understand, value yourself, value your body. Don't, young man, young woman, be careful, little eyes, what you're looking at, right? Be careful with little ears, what you're listening to, right? We don't want to devalue one another. We don't want to dehumanize others. We want to teach students to honor one another. We want to teach students to see the value in the other and to know that there's value within. So that's why we go after those types of funding, because we believe if we can teach a student to value themselves, to value the person that they're created to be, then we believe that we can help set that student up for a lifetime of success.
Yeah, definitely. And then every student that comes across that student, they're going to rub off on them, and then before you know it, it's a chain effect. And it's especially important in high school because, like you said, that's when you're hitting puberty, that's when you're getting older, discovering new things, new friends. Like when I was in 8th grade to 9th, I had a whole new friend group. And then I had the mentors that I didn't even know they were mentors. It was the seniors that I hung out with, and I didn't realize that, hey, I was listening to them,
Absolutely.
I was taking in everything they said, and I was acting upon whatever they told me without even realizing it, because I was just being molded.
Yep.
And students are being molded whether they believe it or not. So if we can mold them in a good way, then...
So AJ, what you're talking about is the power of influence. According to some of the data that we've looked at from the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and the U.S. Census Bureau, when you clump it together in a lot, it appears to be that roughly 7 out of 10 kids in schools across the U.S., roughly 7 out of 10, come from families where there's one or less biological parent. So if it's a kind of like a Venn diagram, if it's a looped kind of a circuit, then roughly 3 out of 10 students come from homes where there's one or more biological parent in the home. All right, so keep that in mind. The average class size in America is roughly 30 kids. Roughly 30 kids, that's the average class size in America. So if 21 out of 30 students are coming from homes where there's one or less biological parental influence in the home, then what does that tell you? What kind of environment does that tell you that student's coming from? That student is coming from an environment where they have likely to have experienced the divorce of their parents, where they likely have experienced a form of poverty at some level. And if they've experienced a form of poverty at some level, then it's very possible that they've also experienced a form of neglect at some level. So if a student has experienced a form of poverty or a form of neglect, or if they've experienced the divorce of their parents, if they've had those experiences, how does that student value themselves? And if 21 out of 30 students in a classroom, you follow me?
That's a lot.
I know. And if 21 out of 30 students, if 2/3 of every kid in the room comes from that kind of mindset background, right? That kind of situational mindset, and roughly 9 out of 10 kids, or 1/3 of the class, comes from a background where they may not have experienced a divorce. They may not have experienced a form of poverty. They may not have experienced some form of neglect. Okay? Now, I'm not for a minute going to suggest that a two-parent home, there's not any kind of abuse or any kind of violence or anything like that. We know that that's simply not true. That's not what I'm saying here. But we do know that when the numbers tell us that when parents stay married, there's typically more resources in the home, and it's typically a stronger, more stable environment. Now, that's not in every case, but it typically is. Okay. So if students have learned how to cooperate and how to show kindness and how to exercise, I'm married. I've been married for almost 20 years. I'm going to tell you, there are times I have to love my wife even if I believe with all my heart that she's wrong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you
say you're right. You're right.
That's just you're, and you know what? And it's not even out of patronism, but you have to love your wife. Well, guess what? My kids are getting. My kids are getting how to love their future wife. My kids are getting how to do relational community in that setting.
Yeah.
And they also have
growing up in it.
That's right. They also have their mom and dad helping them learn and know how to treat one another. Well, if they learn and know how to treat one another, you reckon that has any impact with how they treat their friends in the classroom setting?
Oh, 100%.
And what if one of them comes home from school and they talk about something that they did to one-up one of their friends, or, they talk about something that happens and Alexis or I happen to catch it? Well, you better believe we're going to call our kids out on it. You better believe we're going to call our kids out on it. Because we love our kids and we want our kids to treat others well.
Yeah.
And if they don't treat others well, we're going to at least have a conversation about that.
That'd be the same with the opposite environment. Kids growing up in an environment,
right.
Parents clashing, parents neglecting, or I remember you saying a while back, right when you could grab the fridge, you was making your own food.
Right.
There's some kids growing up like that, and when they go to school, sometimes it's an escape, or sometimes they use it to, practice what they learn at home onto others, which, if they're learning, abuse, neglect, abuse of words, they need to be taught the light,
Well, it's what we started with, AJ. Hurt people hurt people. And if students are coming to school with the emotional anxiety and with stress and with feelings that they don't know how to cope with or how to deal with, as a dad, I get to help teach my boys coping skills. My boys are young men, and with young men, sometimes young men can display, when you're hurt, they can display that as anger. And I can help my kids understand that and how to process anger and how to work through that and how to, hey, you know what, there's a time and a place for everything, right? And if you don't have that influence in your life, you're exactly right. You're thrown out into a world and you're ill-equipped at best to handle the situations that you're going to encounter.
Mm-hmm. I was actually able to sit in on a practice like we're talking about of teaching when I went to with Gabby.
Okay.
When I went to the high schoolers.
Okay.
She was teaching. What they did was get a piece of paper, and there was an artist. They drew while the other people told them what to draw.
Okay.
Without looking.
Okay.
And then they interpreted it.
Okay.
So I kind of got to see how it would be for someone to interpret something at home and then bring it back, and then everybody at the school them interpret what they see at home onto others.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, the power of influence is an amazing thing. And I know as we're getting ready to wrap up this interview, this conversation, I want to say this: the power of influence is an amazing thing. And I want to encourage moms and dads. I want to encourage moms and dads to interact with organizations like ours who have, who are able to support your students at school. Find out what their motives are. Find out why they're doing, just like we're doing this video. Find out why they're doing what they're doing, right? Find out, you know, what sorts of methods or curriculums or, you know, those different things that they're using. But mom and dad and students who watch or listen to this, here's the thing. I don't want you to ever take for granted the power of your own influence. You have amazing influence, and every human being carries amazing influence with them at all times, whether they believe it about themselves or not. So that's part of the encouragement I want to leave. And when we can help students understand that they have value, when we can help students understand that they have significance and there's meaning and purpose to their life, man, when we can help spark that for them, then I think that's when we begin to help impact lives and create lives of future successes, lives that count.
Yeah, just getting that one though is going to start a wildfire.
That's exactly right. I agree.
Well, thank you, John. I myself got a lot of value out of this. I want to thank you for not only what you do, but for what you give, the value.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's been a blessing to have you on our team and what we're trying to accomplish here.
I'm honored. So as you all heard, hurt people, but you yourself can be the one to overcome, be the light, be healed, define your own life that counts, to help others define their life that counts. From Life That Counts, thank you for tuning in.